This video is the continuation of the former video. Ancient DNA research. Ancient DNA research is the only research that can give us the security we need regarding ancestrality, and it confirms all the above, but also reveals additional information. The ancestors we recognize appeared in Eurasia between 12,000 and 8,000 years ago. But the pattern of their appearance, as four groups, but in between them more difference than between Europeans and extreme East Asians today, also clearly not Sub Saharan Africans, as well as the fact they suddenly appear, as well as the fact they dominate and practice agriculture and metallurgy right from the moment they arrive in Eurasia, is quite unexplainable with standard and actual consensus interpretation of history and evolution, and the inexplicability strongly argues these arriving groups were arriving from the Americas, because Africa is excluded as their direct origin, and also not confirmed by ancestral markers as the Americas are, and Oceania is much more distant, against the currents, and not confirmed by ancestral markers as the Americas are. Australia, Oceania, Indonesia, and Southeast Asia played a similar and important role before, but probably did not affect much Western Eurasia during the last 12,000 years. This additional information from ancient DNA is very inconvenient for the existing consensus, certainly for evolution and out of Africa, but these are not the subject of this video. Resuming, we Eurasians practiced this slash and burn, but in a non-sustainable form, in a consecutive period since the so-called Younger Dryas 12,000 years ago. Right now an observer would be forgiven to think that our history had been without any slash and burn on our agricultural lands, because slash and burn is not practiced anymore, amongst others because our actual forest soils already are too degraded and no longer fertile enough to allow this practice to take place productively. Regardless of all above, the chances of total collapse of food production etc., and eventual destruction seems to be closer than ever. The soils of our agricultural lands have become like mere substrates for our unsustainable modern agricultural practices. The soils of our agricultural lands no longer seem to be an essential part of our agricultural practices, as they certainly did in the past. Without modern agricultural practices, our soils would not produce crops as we expect and need them to produce. This makes it safe to claim that all our soils actually under agriculture are in fact unproductive. In order to become productive, they will totally depend on a complete set of agricultural practices that minimally will involve the import of fertilizers as well as the use of in number, power, weight and impact increasing agricultural machines, including those machines capable of tilling the soils often to ever greater depths. All the carbon dioxide that was once in the soils and forests is in the atmosphere now, together with the emissions from the burning of fossil fuels. If we would think in terms of a carbon agroforest economy, we would be richer, have more potential, to thrive, and securities than ever, but we, still, do not think in terms of a carbon agroforest economy. We are still blind to carbon agroforest's unrecognized and unexplored potential, and its eventual unavoidability the moment our agricultural lands have become too degenerated and unviable. If humans let the forest and/or carbon agroforest regrow, these forests will remove massive amounts of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, and with the captured carbon as key, the carbon agroforest will produce the food and all what we humans need for free, because the resource is free and abundant and replenished automatically, including energy, fuels, materials, graphite, oil derivatives alternatives, and all these will be renewable and renewables. We will not need to mine for or buy fertilizer abroad anymore, because the forest absorbs and draws in the materials from the atmosphere and soil, and abundantly produces superior fertilizer and resources in situ, exactly where the forest and/or carbon agroforests are growing, which should or could be in relatively close vicinity of where the demand for all its products and services comes from, like also our cities. If humans practice carbon agroforest in a carbon agroforest economy, they will never again destroy their forests, soils, or climate. If humans cannot grow or produce enough carbon agroforest for the moment, then they should look to grow abroad or import cheaper and certified carbon agroforest foods and products to fulfill all the needs of its population, including carbon agroforest produced materials to operate a carbon agroforest industry and economy. This video is part of a series and to be continued.